Alright, hello everyone. It's that time of year again. Time to plan your next pulls from January 20th until around April-ish. Right, this will be from Tamamo Cross all the way to Nishino Flower. I'm only doing it in segments because these videos are already very long. I'm trying not to go too long because too long is also not very good for a lot of you guys. Right, so let us start off with some disclaimers first. I have based the dates of the Hons.mode timeline, so if the dates are wrong, that one unlucky, right? Take note of the ... on the actual banner itself, which I will be posting to the canvas sheet and the website later on. This will be the first year paid UMA selector cut-off point. You can buy a selector ticket at the first year anniversary to go and select any horse that you want, but it only goes up until New Year Haru Urara and New Year TM Opera O, according to Henry Handsome. Right, I thought it was actually Tamamo Cross, but apparently Henry says that it's at TM Opera O. So okay, TM Opera O it is. So take note, you cannot select the V Bourbon and cannot select the Kitasan Black the horse with this UMA selector. Right, just take note of those two, but you can select the Xmas Oguri, Dober, as well as any of the New Year horses or Tamamo if you really want Tamamo. Right, then lastly, if you want very strong carrots based planning, you can refer to the Henry Handsome calculator. That calculator is very useful for specifically setting up your carrots and planning for specific banners based on what you're going to pull. That is going to be much more useful, but my video is basically just going to be talking about the reasonings why you want to pull some of these banners, because they may be nichely used for certain CMs or may have some value as a parent or something later on. Right, let us begin with Tamamo Cross. Tamamo Cross is a very weird horse. She has 3 different position skills inside of her kit. She has a Pace Chaser, Late Surgeon, and Closer kit. What happens is that because of her unique being usually only useful on long CMs, her unique is essentially forcing her into long. Right, and in long, she's mostly run as an encloser. That's right, chat. You need to hit your straightaway spurt, you need to get your Uma stand, blah blah blah. This Tamamo Cross comes with a tail held high, so that's another +1 thing that you can go and get on her. But you need to go and find the Uma stand and the straightaway spurt from other sources. Right? Honestly, the fact that she is so versatile is actually a bad thing. You realize that in JP they only ever release specialized horses, and those are the only ones that people care about, because being specialized is much better than being versatile in general. Right? You want to have all of your skills be good for the thing that you're supposed to be good at, rather than having a bunch of good stuff for a bunch of different races. The exception, of course, is like Oguri Cap, who is just okay in every single thing, no matter what she does. Right? So that is pretty much it. It's better to be a specialized horse for Tamamo Cross, but unlucky she's not. Moving on, we have the banner that comes with her, which is Nice Nature, Wit, and Oguri Cap Power. You already know these cards. These cards are the gambling cards. Oguri Cap Power gives you Furious Feet. Nice Nature, Wit gives you on your left. While we are going into this make a new track scenario, on your left, Nice Nature is going to give you notably 15% race bonus at max limit break and 10% race bonus at 3 limit break. At 3 limit break, she will be a usable card. At MLB, she will be a very good wits card for the make a new track scenario for that race bonus stacking. Race bonus is extremely key here, and a lot of my suggestions here will be based on the fact that we're going to make a new track. Right, so that is pretty much the reason why a lot of people may want to go and pick up that Nice Nature wit card as they go into Ment. But if you already have a lot of the other cards that you need, then you don't really need to pull the Nice Nature card, because you will have other sources of race bonus. Don't have to pull Nice Nature just for 15% race bonus. It's just a luxury card ultimately, right? Then this banner is primarily for end closer players as well as late surger players. You will be pulling this if you love lates and ends and you really want to hunt down all these gambling skills. Yes, on these certain CMs you will be able to get other gambling skills also. So if you don't want to get these hyper specific late surger skills, there's always other stuff like No Stopping Me, for example, or your Marzensky unique, your Taiki Shuttle unique, your Angling and Scheming unique, whatever the hell. Right? All of these are other options for acceleration, so you don't really need to get these cards, but notably Nice Nature is significantly better between the two of them. But of course, more gambling skills on Mal CM is always going to be better. Right? Next one, we are moving on to the New Year Haru Urara and the New Year TM Opera O. New Year Haru Urara is much better than OG Urara, but she's still not very strong, unfortunately. Yet the Haru Urara enjoyer will want to go and pull this, because this Haru Urara is a very strong version of her. Basically the strongest version of Haru Urara you can get. Right? The most important part is that her stamina unique, her heal, right, becomes a speed unique when it comes to this New Year Urara. right? So that's one of the major things that change about her, and so this Urara is considered a horse that can win on dirt. So if you want to use this horse, feel free to use this horse. But I'm telling you, she's not really going to be very strong. But of course, the heart wants what the heart wants, right? Moving on to New Year TM Opera O. This is one of the most used parents later on, and she's a solid horse that can also win as well. Her unique is very strong. She wants 7 skills to activate, and she'll get a huge amount of speed. And when inherited, the other horse that inherits it can also activate 7 skills to get a sizable amount of speed of a 0.25 speed. So that is a very, very strong unique. Later on, when we get more core accelerations, you will not really need to go and inherit all of the acceleration uniques. You can just use speed uniques instead, because a lot of the gaming will just depend on how fast you are compared to the other horse next to you, right? So that's pretty much what happens here with this New Year TM Opera O. She's going to be meta for a very, very long time, and later on when Supreme Commander Special Week comes out as well, you will see 2 of them appear often together, right? Next, we have the Admire Vega Power and Fukukitaru Speed. Admire Vega Power is unfortunately a niche card because Admire Vega Guts SR is coming out, and that card is insanely good. And notably, Admire Vega Power does have 10% race bonus and does give you daring attack. The problem is that she is not as strong as the SR Guts Vega, right? Not as strong. 15% race bonus plus speed bonus plus power bonus plus 30% friendship bonus. It's just a do-it-all kind of card. So versus this Admire Vega Power over here, it's really quite tough, honestly. Admire Vega, the problem is that you get power crap by Admire Vega, lol. Alright, anyway, next one is Fukukitaru Speed. It is a very strong high roll card, but the keyword here is high roll. I would not recommend this card to most of my casual audience. If you are, however, someone who plays this game a lot and you don't really play any other games and you're willing to put a lot of time into grinding, then Fukukitaru is a godsend for you, because this card can high roll absolutely insane. Alright, it's a very strong high roll card because this card has no specialty priority, it has training effectiveness, it has energy cost reduction, it has failure rate down, and it gives you 150 stats in every single stat line in total, right? So it's really, really quite fat. It gives you 30 in every stat, then 150 in total, right? So Fukukitaru is a very strong friendship card as a speed card, right? So if you hit a lot of times on this card in terms of clicking, and she lands on the rainbows that you're trying to click also, she can help a lot in terms of boosting your output, right? She's a friendship card in disguise, gives you a lot of stats, and if you like to high roll with her, it's very, very good. But remember that difficulty is multiplicative, right? If I need to hunt Uma Stan, I need to hunt No Stopping Me, I need to hunt Long S, all 3 at the same time, and my horse does not have any of these inside of her, then what happens is that you now need to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, and Fukukitaru, so 5. Everything stacks, right? Everything just freaking stacks. So because everything stacks, I only recommend this for people who really have the time to grind with it. If you just want a solid card that gives you highly consistent amount of stats on your horses, then Narita Top Road is going to be the superior card in general. Right, moving on, we have the Meisho Doto card, which is a free card. It's just not relevant meta-wise. It gives you killer tunes. If you don't have any other stamina cards, this card could be used if you want to. But other than that, I think this is not really a very, very important card at all. Right, moving on, we have the standard banner. It is a standard banner. I do not know what else you want me to say about it. Moving on, we have the Anshinzawa friend card. This is a troll card. Very simple. No deck ever runs her. I put one picture inside of the Canva because I just needed to show you how bad it is. It has energy -10 and it has boot -2. Okay, that's it. That's all you need to know. This card is completely troll. Don't even bother looking at it. Right, Tamamo Cross Guards is also not a particularly significant card because there is no race bonus inside of it. Super easy skipping banner. Right, next we have the New Year paid banner and the New Year paid support card banner. Most of the time you will be getting a duplicate, or you'll be getting an Ashaka Wit or a Go Ship Stamina. So you can pull this if you want, but in general I would not recommend pulling this. But if you ever pull something awesome from it, you will feel very good about yourself. Right, moving on, we have the Sakura Chiyono O. This is a spring-oriented pace front runner, but usually she's a pace chaser, right? She comes with Speed Star, Spring Runner, and Pace Savvy, and that's pretty much it. Her unique is not particularly strong, her skills are not particularly strong. She doesn't have any super major ways to really win, like Taiki Shuttle or Maru or anything like that. No big acceleration skills. So you basically would treat her like a pace chaser, and notably she really likes to run in the spring because she has a spring green skill in particular. So that's really all I have to say about Sakura Chiyono O. You will really only pull her if she is your Oshi horse. Notably, I think she's one of the dog team Umas in this game, right? Moving on, we have Tazuna Friendship and Riko Kashimoto Friendship cards. At this point in time, these cards will really not be used that much. The only one that is usable from the our Haru scenario is basically MLB SSR Riko because of her 10% race bonus. But even then, she will fall off after Make a New Track, because after Make a New Track, there's a new card called Light Her Low for Grand Life, right? So in Make a New Track, if you have Riko Kashimoto at MLB, you can use her due to her 10% race bonus and the fact she gives you an insane amount of stamina and guts, right? But there are plenty of other good banners to pull on, so I would not really recommend pulling this banner at all. At this point in time, the value of Riko is not going to be very, very high, right? Moving on, we have Valentine Bourbon and Valentine Eishin Flash. This banner is going to be a jobber's best friend. Valentine Bourbon is the easiest frontrunner to make. She gets groundwork, front savvy, concentration, and a secret event where if you get 60,000 fans before Valentine's Day, you will get early lead, right? This horse is going to be meta now, falls off a bit later on, and then after that meta again when League of Heroes happens. League of Heroes is where you want to run 3 frontrunners every single time, so for a jobber who has no time to grind for that, Valentine Bourbon is extremely easy to make for those League of Heroes stuff. Although notably in the later patches, it will be very, very easy to get your groundwork and whatnot already, right? There will be a lot of good cards to go along with these horses as well, like your Swimsuit Marzensky, a very strong frontrunner card that can give you a lot of the skills that you might be missing for your Valentine Mihono Bourbon for groundwork activation, right? So this horse is very, very good and very strong and will definitely be meta. You will see her quite a lot, right? Valentine Eishin Flash is mostly just another Dominator debuffer. Her skills itself is nothing much to speak about. It's not too amazing. If you want to go and make her, this will be more of an Oshi decision rather than a meta decision, right? So Valentine Mihono Bourbon will be your favorite horse for a very long time if you just want to shit out a very easy horse that will definitely get you to A finals, because she is one of them. But of course, remember, frontrunner gaming means that you would have to have some really powerful cards to fight the other Valentine Bourbons in your lobby. So just take note of that before you go and pull the Valentine Bourbon, right? Moving on, we have the Nishino Flower Wit and Sakura Bakushino Guts. This banner is not really that amazing in terms of stat output, and it's just primarily a niche banner. Nishino Wit is really just for downward descent, and that's it. It is a gold skill that gives you acceleration when you're going down a hill. It's very niche because only some tracks have a relevant downhill to trigger your downward descent. Most of them don't really have anything related to the downward, so occasionally this may become useful or not so useful, right? Bakushino Guts has groundwork on the first event and also has a decent sprint mid-leg gold skill, but both of these cards ultimately do not have any race bonus, so it's just not recommended because we're going into Make a New Track. So this is primarily a skipping banner unless you really want to pick up these cards just for the gold skill, right? Then after that, you're also getting Tosen Jordan SSR Speed. This card is actually an F2 piece lifesaver. It is solid enough that you can just use it in case you do not have any other speed cards, right? So just take note of that for the Tosen Jordan SSR Speed over here. It also has Breath of Fresh Air in case you needed another gold recovery for your horses, alright? Moving on, we have Mejiro Ardan. Mejiro Ardan, take note during the Make a New Track scenario, I have made this mistake a few times. In Make a New Track, they disable every single race-related event. So Mejiro Ardan, by right, would have glass legs. Because she has glass legs, she is not going to be able to run multiple races in a row, which is absolutely crippling for Mant. However, in Make a New Track, they delete that. So no longer will you have the glass legs debuff on Mejiro Ardan. So if you are reading your horses and realizing, like Doto, for example, she has the goof up, where she raced a lot, then she will lose extra stamina. Ardan has glass legs, Mayano has shapeshifter, or Taiki Shutter has an event to give her hit on. If you train these horses in Make a New Track, all of these events are deleted, okay? There are no race-related events at all. Suzuka cannot become runaway at all, right? Totally deleted all of these special race events or race debuffs. All of them are gone. So Mejiro Ardan during Make a New Track is actually a normal horse. She does not have the racing problems that she's normally supposed to have with her glass legs debuff. Primarily, Mejiro Ardan is a pace chaser for medium, and she has a unique that activates on the last street, and she has race planner. She's not particularly super meta or anything like that. You would really just pull her if you like her or you saw her in the manga and you wanted to cheer her on, then go ahead. Right? There's nothing inherently wrong with her. She's just a very solid horse. But if you do not have the gems for it, then just go and use any other solid horse for medium track and you'll be fine already. Right? Moving on, we have the Agnes Digital SSR Power and Ines Fujin SR Wit. Digital is notably another way to hunt down Uma Stan. However, she is a power card. You will generally try not to put power cards into your deck as much as possible. She also has 5% race bonus, and her unique effect for some reason wants her to run a Highlander deck. Highlander decks are not real until we go into JP when Tucker Bryan first exists, and then Tucker Bryan makes it so that we are just running Highlanders, because our stat output is just so ridiculously OP, right? We aren't in JP yet, so unfortunately Agnes Digital is literally years too early, right? Ines Fujin gives some decent frontrunner skills, but sadly only has 5% race bonus, so this will be an easy skip. Moving on, we have Admire Vega. Admire Vega unfortunately gets power cracked by Admire Vega Guts. Unfortunate. So if you are training Admire Vega, you will feel really bad because you cannot run one of the strongest cards in the game, which is Admire Vega Guts, right? This horse has a final straight unique, some enclosure skills, the straightaway spurt event, she can get it, but it's RNG, and the timing is really bad due to the Admire Vega Guts card coming out. So you cannot use it with her. Ultimately, this is more of an Oshi horse than anything, so if you like her, then you will have to accept that you will suffer for her, because you will not be able to use her strong card, alright? Moving on, we have the Fine Motion card and Kawakami Princess Speed card. Notably, Kawakami Princess is actually a very solid speed card, but there are definitely better ones like Biko Pegasus, Fukukitaru, or Top Road for the make a new track scenario. Notice I did not say Kitasan Black, because Kitasan Black is not optimal for Mant, because Kitasan Black only has 5% race bonus, so you will try not to use Kitasan Black for the make a new track scenario. However, what if I don't have any other card Mumukaus? Just use it, alright? So this is the note to take, right, from this banner over here. If you already have a solid 10% race bonus speed card, you can use that. If you do not, just throw Kitasan Black inside, 5% race bonus, just eat that 5% debuff, alright? Nothing you can do about it. It's still okay enough to be used. Okay, moving on, we also have the Fine Motion card. This card is very, very good. However, the timing is very, very sus. This banner is right before the scenario banner of Top Road Speed. So if you are hunting for Top Road Speed and also Admire Vega Guts, then you may want to ration out your pulls here and there. You can commit a lot into Fine Motion, but you may not have enough for Narita Top Road. You may skip Fine Motion here and then commit a lot into Narita Top Road, or if you have the money, just do it for both, right? So this one is really up to the individual player. Use the Henry Handsome calculator to go and calculate whether you have the sufficient funds to go and pull these banners over here, because ultimately the horses, I do not know which one you are pulling because your heart told you to go and pull it, right? So that one you will have to decide on yourself, or you have to message me on Ko-fi, then I directly help you, right? Because this one is very, very specific to the person. Kawakami Princess is a solid card, and ultimately if you get it by accident on Fine Motion, you will not be too sad about it, but ultimately there are better stuff to go and use for, right? And notably, Kawakami Princess does give the center stage goal skill, which is still great for the team trials. So if you want to go and get that, also whatever, right? Whales can go and pick them up if they want. Okay, moving on, we have the big banner, Kitasan Black and Matikane Tannhauser. Mambo is finally here. Kitasan Black is a strong, long, focused front-runner horse, quite meta, and will be a very strong pick alongside a variety of long horses later on. There's a lot of very solid long horses with multiple ways to win depending on the track, but sometimes Kitasan Black is actually one of the strongest options to use. Later on, Blaze Brian is a long pace chaser, Satono Diamond is a late surger long horse as well, Sakura Laurel also, when the late surger focus card that gives you Muga, or I guess in English it will be Lose Yourself, right? And that skill alone with late surges makes late surges super meta for long CMs. So there's a lot of different things that happens on long. Kitasan Black is just a very good front runner horse for these CMs, right? So another thing to note is that if one of your best speed cards is Kitasan Black, then you also cannot train this horse because this is Kitasan Black. So during this scenario, what are you trying to train this horse with? You're training this horse with usually Biko Pegasus, Narita Top Road, Matikanefukukitaru, or Swimsuit Marzensky. Any of these four combinations would be fine. So as long as you're pulling for any of these other cards, you can train Kitasan Black. But if your strong card is Kitasan Black, sorry, don't pull this horse. You will suffer to make this horse. But if you want to suffer to make this horse, then go ahead. Mumukaus accepts that sometimes the heart is stronger than the brain. Alright, moving on, we have the Mambo. Is the unfortunately the Haru Urara of mediums or longs, basically. She's pretty much like Haru, where she doesn't really have much inside of her kit. Her unique is literally just a heal, and so she literally is just a survival horse for the long CM. She is a 2-star, so if you pull this banner for Kitasan, you will probably get Mambo along the way. You are generally not going to have much ways to win with Mambo, so you will need to pump her full of stat lines as well as skills in order to make her try to win. You will be struggling a lot to make her win, but of course, if you like Mambo and you want to use her, then Oshi pull. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the Kitasan Black banner and the Matikane Tannhauser banner. Moving on, we have the Narita Top Road Speed as well as the Admire Vega SR Guts. Right, this banner is going to be very fat. Notably, Henry Handsome in his calculator puts 60 pulls for Kitasan and 60 pulls for Narita top road. However, I have a different way to look at it. If we look at the Riko banner, by right we were supposed to get 11 pulls. Henry Handsome is basing his calculator based on the fact that in JP we did get 60-60. However, I think that since they gave us 100 on Riko, they are following the modern day JP standard of giving you a lot of pulls on the card banner, right? So I think that what's going to happen is that we will get either 100 or 120 pulls only for Narita top road, meaning that you must fork out 200 pulls for Kitasan Black guarantee, because that's how they do it now in JP, right? So I'm going to go with that model here. So if you wonder why Henry Handsome is 60-60 and I'm 100, it's because in real life it did happen like that, but I think that in global they are adapting to JP, so they are going to be using the 100 method instead of the 60-60 method, right? So for this banner, you should get a lot of free pulls. Highly recommended to see what you get from your free pulls first, and also highly recommended to save your SR Golden Gem for this banner here. After this banner, there's basically no other scenario where the gold card, the SR card, is considered this strong. So after that, you can just freely use this gold gem over here. Right now, this gold gem should be used for Admire Vega SR Guts. That's just how valuable Admire Vega SR Guts is. Right? We start off with Narita Top Road first, however. This card is a consistently powerful speed card, which was literally made for Matt. Her unique effect is that she gives you bonuses if you are getting fans. And how do you get fans? You just race. And in Make a New Track, you will race non-stop. Alright? But note, after Make a New Track, Narita Top Road immediately drops off a cliff. It is literally unusable after that. Right? She literally only scales off of fans, and after Make a New Track, you will never be doing this much racing anymore. Right? So the real price of this banner is really just Admire Vega Guts. This card is so broken, all the wheels will use it, all of the horses and cards before this card get power crept by this one Guts card over here. 15% race bonus, 1 speed, 1 power, and 30% friendship. It's absolutely ridiculous in terms of being used in a Guts deck or just being used as a stat stick. It literally can be used in every single deck. Even whales can use this card. It is very, very insanely powerful. Right? After that, we have Ryan. Ryan has 5% race bonus, so you can just ignore that. And Bakushin has 10% race bonus and also gives you tail held high, which is actually quite okay. So ultimately, out of all of these cards here, the main two that we are hunting for is really just Narita Top Road as well as Admire Vega Guts. But since we're getting free pulls, you can actually free pull and try to pray for the Admire Vega as soon as possible. And then if you have some golden gems, you can save the rest of your pulls for other banners later on if you are going to be saving for anything afterwards. Right? So just take note of that. Narita Top Road, you will want to try to get it to max limit break as much as possible. Otherwise, just go to 3 limit break and call it a copium card for now, because it's still going to give you a lot of stat lines and still worth it to throw into your deck. Right? Ultimately, I think I will be hard pulling into this banner over here for Narita Top Road, mostly because it is consistent. It will never high roll as crazy as Fukukitaru, but it will be very, very consistent in terms of the stat output. Of course, I will accept the fact that after the new track scenario ends, I will be pulling on another banner to go and refill my support card. But remember, I'm a paying player, right? If you're not a paying player, maybe you cannot do the things I'm going to do, right? So just take note of that. Most of you guys would probably be either pulling Narita Top Road or Fukukitaru just to have a very strong speed card for the Make a New Track scenario. In terms of Fuku versus Narita Top Road, a very, very popular question. Fuku has more usability into the future scenarios. You can use her in Grand Life and Grandmasters if you want to, because she is high roll. If you high roll, you hit, congratulations. If you never high roll, you miss, okay, unlucky. Redo until you hit. That is how Fukukitaru works. Top Road only for Mant, but consistently solid, because you will always be getting that number of fans throughout the whole scenario. Only dies when Agnes Tachyon comes out for the new scenario. Right, so that's pretty much it for this banner over here. Alright, next we move on to the Mejiro Bright SSR Stamina, which is a free card. It gives you the gold skill of pressure. It's just not relevant. You can ignore this one. Moving on, we have Satono Diamond. This is a strong late surger horse for long CMs in particular. She only really gets really powerful once the late surger focus acceleration cards come out. She's not super strong, but she is solid enough for the long CMs, and she's supposed to be Kitasan Black's rival, so that's why she's next after Kitasan Black. Right? So this horse is going to be okay. I'll consider her mostly an Oshi pull, but she is solid enough to be able to win in the long CMs. Right? Although some long CMs, it will be heavily dominated by the enclosures. Right? Just take note of that until we see the two major cards come out, which is Symbolic Chris S Stamina as well as Manhattan Cafe Wit. Those are the two major ones we're hunting for. Right. Next we have Marvelous Sunday SSR Guts and Current SR Speed. Sunday Guts is complete trash. Why? Because Marvelous Sunday power is insanely good. because it has 15% race bonus. I know it's a power card, but it has 15% race bonus on it. This Guts card over here just cannot compare to that other one, right? So this one, don't need to explain. Feel free to look at the card yourself if you want to know why this card is not usable, but honestly, it's not important. The Sunday Power card or even the Marvelous Sunday Wits card is considered very, very good for Make a New Track. So either of them is viable. Don't need to go and get this one. But Current Speed SR, however, is a very good stat stick for speed and also usable for Ment. But do not pull this banner just for Current. Just skip this banner. Go and pray for Current on other banners. That's the better way to do it. Right, next we have Mejiro Bright. This is a weird horse. This horse wants to have so much stamina inside of her to buff her unique's duration, which is very weird. No horse ever has this, and no horse will ever have something similar to this. So ultimately, she is not that relevant at all. Right, she's just an Oshi pull. Okay, moving on, we have the Zeno Rob Roy SSR Speed as well as the Current SSR Wit card. This banner is primarily a luxury banner, really, because Zeno Rob Roy gives you a late surgery recovery, while Current SSR Wit gives you perfect prep, which is a good sprinting gambling skill. You might look at it and be like, what the hell is this skill Mumu counts? No, in sprints, it's literally just throw 3 to 4 gambling skills on your horse and pray that you will trigger a lot of them at a good timing, because you are fighting all of the other gamblers in the lobby and it's just going to be a whole gambling game in sprint. So this is a good card for these sprinters. Right? This is ultimately a luxury banner. Most people will not be pulling this. Whales, however, can consider pulling this if they want. Current is usable for Ment, but Zeno Rob Roy is not usable for Ment. Do take note of that. Alright, Zeno Rob Roy does not have the race bonus. Okay, but Current is still usable. So yeah, recommended to skip. You can just borrow the cards if you need them. And ultimately, in Ment, the stamina requirements should not be so bad, because one super crit plus the Ment scenario itself will give you enough stamina to pass all of your checks already. Right, moving on, we have the first anniversary paid banner and also the first anniversary paid banner support card. Once again, you are more likely to get Ashoka Wit and Go Ship stamina, and you're more likely to get a dupe. But also, once again, it depends on how many horses you own. It's based on the person and based on your risk appetite. So pull if you want to. Right, moving on, we have the Ballroom Seiun Sky and Ballroom Fuji Kiseki. Ballroom Seiun Sky is a very strong frontrunner horse and is a relevant parent for some tracks, just like the OG Seiun Sky. She, however, does not have anything inside of her innate kit to make it easier to make a frontrunner. She's not V Bourbon, right? So you will have to do it the old-fashioned way, like a Esmaru, just shoving a bunch of green skills into her, shoving groundwork into her, shoving early lead, shoving position sense, danger sense, whatever, into this horse in order to make her win more likely. Right, so that's pretty much what happens with the Ballroom Seiun Sky over here. She's a very solid horse, and you will see her quite a bit. All of the Seiyuns are all very, very solid. Same as Kitasan. All of the Kitasans are also very, very solid. Right. Next, we have the Ballroom Fuji Kiseki. This is a strong mild pace chaser horse, and she will get stronger when they add evolve skills as well. But meta-wise, there are also a lot of other better milers than her, so she's not really a must-pull horse. There's a lot of other mile horses that will be coming out. Mile is a position where a lot of different horses will be very, very easy and very, very usable. Taiki Shuttles, Maruzenskis, Daitaku Helioses, right? All of these are all very, very strong milers, and they will pop off later on when their respective cards come on. So Ballroom Fuji is not too amazing, but she is solid enough. Alright, so if you love her, you can definitely use her for Mauseums. Alright, moving on, we have the Symbolic Rudolph SSR Stamina and Serious Symbolic SSR Wit. For Symbolic Rudolph, this is just a debuffer card. If you know the R version of Symbolic Rudolph, you're basically just making that into an SSR. That is what this Symbolic Rudolph SSR card is. It's just a superior debuffer card. Next, we have the Serious Symbolic SSR Wit card. This card gives you a medium acceleration go skill, and it's only for mediums. The thing about mediums is that you're usually using other ways to accelerate, so you don't really need to have such a weird medium acceleration go skill, but having more accelerations may be good if you are a hardcore gambler, right? Ultimately, for mediums, a lot of times it will either be Maru's unique, Taiki's unique, Ryan and Dober's unique, or Seiyun Sky's unique. So there's usually a lot of other good options, so you don't really need to go and hunt down this one. Take note, Nimble Navigator and No Stopping Me exists also. So on certain CMs, on mediums, you are usually better off using those instead. So this is not really a must-have kind of card. Stat output-wise, all of these cards here are kind of okay also. It's not very amazing or anything like that. So ultimately, this is a easy skip banner in my personal opinion. Right, moving on, we have the Air Shaker SSR Speed card. This is usable if there's no other options, or if you want to hunt for Calm and Collected Go Recovery. It's a free card, nothing much else to say about it. And now, the final banner. Final banner is going to be Nishino Flower. Nishino Flower is a meta parent and can be used for shorts or miles as an ace. This horses unique is basically acceleration, and most of the time for pace chasers, right, you will see Nishino Flower and Taiki Shuttle appear together every single time, which is very canonical, because basically Taiki Shuttle mated with every single one of the Nishinos in the entire bloodline, which is kind of crazy. But basically Nishino Flower and Taiki will tend to be the two meta pace chaser parents for a lot of CMs, not all of them, but for a lot of them, and Nishino herself can be used as well, but that's dependent on the track as well, because Nishino's goal skills, her goal skills are beeline burst and also the straight descent. So basically, if there's a proper downhill, then it will be very good. If there's a straight line and it's a short CM, then your chances of hitting that burst is going to be actually much better than usual, right? So yeah, this means that Nishino Flower is very specific, but is solid enough to win in your short CM. Short CMs are so volatile anyway, it doesn't matter, right? But yeah, Nishino Flower is a solid horse and also a meta parent for sure. Okay, moving on, we have the Daiwa Scarlet SSR Power and Sweep Tosho Wit. Daiwa Scarlet suffers from the I'm a power card moment, but she does have 10% race bonus. And if you are a pace chaser and you really don't have another way to win, then getting golden hit on might be one of the only ways that you can win. But yeah, you will have to use a power card inside, and this is also a very niche banner, and you will have to pull to MLB to get 10% race bonus, so that's gonna suck a little bit, right? So yeah, a very, very, very expensive way to go and hunt down for golden hit on. And ultimately at the bottom here, Sweep Tosho Wit has 10% race bonus, but there is also probably some better Wits cards. Although note that I am comparing with some SSRs, because Fine Motion and Nice Nature have fat race bonuses inside of them, but notably Agnes Tachyon and Marvelous Sunday are two of the other cards that could also be used in the Wits position for 10% race bonus as well. So not really a mandatory card to be pulling on, especially since her banner comes with Daiwa Scarlet Power, which is not a very, very usable card for most of the audience here. Unless you are really a pace chaser, I need to make my pace chaser win, so I will shove golden hit on inside of this horse. That kind of player, alright? So this banner, mostly easy skip, but for pace chaser enjoyers, if you really want to, you can feel free to go and slap this card inside your Make a New Track deck, right? And that is pretty much where we're going to stop for today. I know it's a very, very long video. Thanks for sticking around. This ultimately requires you to go and do your planning, right? I can only help you so much, but I have explained to you which of these cards and horses are going to be very, very relevant for most of the players here. Remember that you do not have to pull any of the Umas in this game. You can just perma borrow them if they are purely for parentage reasons. Right? Most of the time you will have the other parent, so all you need to do is just rent the other parent that the other person built for you. Right? Then that it will basically settle all of your Uma needs. So only pull Umas if your heart feels like it. For the cards, that one is also something to go and think about, because the major one for this period of time is Fukukitaru Speed, as well as Fine Motion and Narita Top Row. Three of these are very big banners. Remember the number of gems you need, okay? If you want to get 3 LB, most of the time you need 60,000 gems, okay? Unless you're very lucky. If you're lucky, then 30,000 gems will be all you need, right? And if you're even more luckier than that, then you can go less, right? But you need to hit, right? That's the most important thing. So prepare your huge storage of gems first, and then dump it, and then pray you hit. And then if you hit earlier, it feels good, you have some spare, then you can use those spare for future banners, right? Always assume the worst possible case, right? Always assume the worst possible case. So that's how you can avoid being like me, where I quit in JP because I only get one limit break on Mejiro Ramonu because I go and burn all of my gems on stupid ass banners, right? So that's pretty much it for this entire video here. Thanks guys for watching. Any further questions, go through Ko-fi, go through Twitch or YouTube live streams, or go through my Discord. A lot of people will have all of this knowledge inside of their head already. They can help you out, right? So thanks guys for watching. Good luck with your pulls, and I wish you luck. All right, bye bye.